Hey guys, and welcome to a new video. Today I want to talk about my take on the state of Path of Exile, the state of the current Expedition League, and where I think the game is going to go in the future, and yeah, just this overall thing. Because you guys know me, I'm not the guy that is like judging something straight away. Like patch notes usually I don't really care about those because I always want to see, even if I know this skill got nerfed, I still probably going to play it at some point because I want to see how it feels like. And nerf doesn't always mean to be bad. And, you know, when there's a skill nerfed, Reddit usually is like, yo, this is dead, this build is dead, that ascendancy is dead, this is dead. I call bullshit because most of the time, this is just not the case. So after playing this league now since what is it now, league day maybe 18 or something, so roughly 2 or 3 weeks into the league, and yeah, pretty much cleared the atlas more or less, a couple maps missing, but doing like this kind of like end game stuff. I think I got a good experience now on what the game is all about right now and where it's going to go in the future probably. And to be honest, I'm not really happy about it. So I know I'm always the guy that tries to stay positive about everything what's happening in the game that we all love. That's why we all care about it, pretty much, right? But you know, where to start this? I want to like mention some positive things, some negative things, and just like my overall experience, pretty much, right? And I think, or how I always say, Path of Exile has like so much variety. No matter if it's like the build diversity, for example, or the ways of like how you enjoy the game. You know, this build just offers way too much that somebody can actually handle or somebody can actually pull off or play. You know, when it starts to like what game type you prefer, if it's like solo self-on, if it's softcore trade, if it's hardcore and those kind of things, to the points where you say like, okay, how do we gonna make currency? How do we gonna get the gear that we need for our character to work? You know, the ways of farming currency, if you're lab running, if you're mapping, if you're bossing, if you're delving, if you're like, there is so many things in every league. There is going to be more and more and more. And that's why I always say like this game has to offer so much, and at some point you just have to like find the way that brings the most pleasure to you, right? Because you're gonna do this countless of times until you get like your stuff done in the game, in the league, the challenges, or whatever you're up to, whatever your goal is in the league. So the problem with that is that, for example, my pleasure to play the game, first of all, I'm like those kind of speed mapper guy, you know, like maybe a headhunter slap on and just run auto bombing, those kind of things. But most importantly, it is trying out builds, like besides gambling and some other stuff that I like to do. But usually it's about playing different kind of builds, and normally I would say I play between I'd say like 15 to 20 different builds, just trying to get all of these like cool, interesting mechanics into endgame and see how they perform, how much investment does it take, and I feel super limited in this league because out of, I think it's like has been over 8 characters that I played, or at least tested, from like these. My starting character was a Forbidden Rite self-cast, over to Fire Burst, over to like the Rage Vortex, the Exsanguinate build. Then I tried some Winter Orb, some Eye of Winter, like the new one, right? And there is many other builds that I would like to try, but I'm losing motivation because I think based on all the builds that I played now, only one single was actually doing stuff. It was only the Rage Vortex build that actually brought me into endgame, and other builds that were not that good. For example, the Exsanguinate character, where I spent over 50 exalts into the character, was struggling in the end game. And I would say, like, let's be honest, how many people do have more than 50 exalts? I think there's only a minor part that actually has that much currency available. And if I already say with like a 50 exalts build that it's hard to do end game, how is a casual feeling in this game? And this is like kind of a struggle. I'm kind of losing the motivation to level up a character, start gearing it, start leveling, get the levels and stuff, do all the laps and whatnot. All it takes to then find out that I'm like hard stuck in red tier maps, you know. And I'm not talking about end game doing Maven, doing Sauruses. If I'm legit stuck in like high tier maps where I die like 2 or 3 times per map, and I need like 2 minutes to kill a map boss with gem swap and so on, it's a little bit, you know, too much, just for a comparison. But you guys get the idea, right? And if my build already stucks on that part, I don't want to, I just lose the motivation to do it even further, right? So what I do right now is like, one day I'll level the character, right? It's usually on stream. I leveled like 5-6 characters in the past 3 or 4 days, just to ditch it at level 80. And then I was like, yeah, well, this build kind of sucks, you know? And then next build, and then I'm like, after all these builds, I kind of have to say I had one successful character this league, right? And I'm not even talking about meta builds right now, just because a meta build right now, for example, Spectre Shield Throw, is so expensive that almost nobody can play it on a nice level. Of course, you can cut the budget everywhere. If play some Blade Gladiator, for example, Spectre Shield Throw is definitely a lot cheaper than like the Raider version with like cold conversion, stuff like that. But hey, if I want to like playing Spectre Shield Throw, if you want to have the helmet chant, for example, the 5 additional shards, which makes the build a lot better, you have like a starting price of like 15 exalts right now for the helmet chant without a craft or anything like that. And this is like the big problem that I see in the current state of the game. In one hand, a lot of builds straight up suck now. Builds that worked in the past, you just like, let's be honest, the bad builds just need a lot more currency to get going, but usually every build is capable of doing everything, even if it says, I'm playing Frostbolt Ignite or something like that, right? But I don't see it anymore in this kind of league. And one thing that is kind of like scaring me at some part is like, when I compare it to World of Warcraft, for example, since I play a lot of World of Warcraft as well, is like when people referring to the good old days, when people say like, yo, we're currently in BFA, it sucks, or in Shadowlands, this is bad, remember back in Cataclysm, back in Wrath of the Lich King, how much fun we had, remember back in the days, And from my point of view, Path of Exile is always a game where I say, this game gets better every 3 months. Every time a patch hits, every time we get a new league, there is better stuff coming, better, like, overall, the feeling of the game is just getting better and better and better and better, and this is exactly why Path of Exile got such an increase in the player base, right? But since like 2 or 3 leagues, I'm like, yo, remember back in the days when we had like this super insane explodey build, where we had like 2 screen explosion clears, we had all of our 100% delirious maps that we could farm, like content that was so hard that it was only a handful of builds that could actually do that. And this is the problem. The last league was already a bunch of nerfs hitting the entire like game and everything, where I basically said, because I remember those words, I said like, if you have a list of like 50 items, 50 things that you want to nerf in the game, why, like, you have to understand, I think that all these leaks now are the pure purpose of everything is to for the greater good of Path of Exile 2. So I think GG tries to align like the current PoE to slow it down to be a bigger, better in PoE 2 once it hits and everything is combined and stuff like that, right? But as I said, if you have 50 items and you have like probably 5 more leagues to do all of those changes, why do 45 of those changes right away and piss off the player base? This was last league happened, and I actually said, I think they're gonna revert a lot of these changes. I think they're gonna make delirious maps splittable again, for example. I think they're gonna make Harvest maybe more accessible, and all of these things. I think they just overdid it a little bit, right? But then we have 3.15 expedition patch notes, and this was like Gassy said, a horror book, right? All of the skills nerfed to the ground, more or less. I mean, if everything gets nerfed, it's fine, we slow down the game and every build sucks, or every build is same good, basically, right? But it was insane how much the current game got nerfed and slowed down to a point where not even me, with like playing this game since like 4 years as my main game, are actually enjoying it too much anymore, right? And I also have the big problem with like the community and the players playing the game, okay? So when I refer to that, I basically mean usually the first month of a league is insane. You check your list here, right? And there is like 90% of your friend list is online. Everybody is playing. Everybody's having a good time. Everybody like league starting, everybody is really enjoying the game and like being online and just having fun together as well, right? Because everybody, or most of the people, have like some friends in PoE that like, yo, check out my craft, do this, like, can we do something together, and so on. But I kind of not feel like this anymore, just because most of the players are gone already. We are like not even 3 weeks into the league, and almost everybody that I know that I play a lot PoE with, they're done with the league. You have those casual players, like real life friends and stuff, that are not like playing the game like I do. They are really just logging in like for a couple hours. They stop because they say, dude, it's shit. They cannot even go into yellow tier maps without like spending 6 portals to do a map boss, for example, right? Then I have a lot of friends that are like super endgame. Like 10 times better than I do. The people that have like 3 mirrors already in like the first week of the league and stuff like that, people that play Aura Stacker and like this the 0.0001%, right? They're all stopped already because they have nothing to do. And this is like the next part. So you kind of piss off the casuals that are just having a hard time getting into the game, learning the game, because everything is like super hard right now. Then you have the top end players that are just bored just because they have nothing to do. Because what are these people farming usually? I was like, I don't know, anything that's like super crazy that's not accessible, for example, 100% Delirious. And since they kind of nerfed the end game last league, those people are gone as well because they have nothing to do. They still have their overpowered builds, because at some point, you know, if you spend 200x in a build, it most likely will do all content, even though it's slower now than before, but it's still a thing. You're still gonna like one-shot bosses on a certain gear level, right? But they have nothing to do. It's not their goal to like do Saras 5 times and then be happy with it. They want to go for the ultimate endgame, but there is none. And so you piss off the casuals, you piss off the endgame players, so what's pretty much left? It's players that like really try to play the game, but having a hard time because the market is already dead. Like, since there is a lot less people, I don't have facts, it's just like my experience right now. Since there is not a lot of people playing the game, it seems like, or it's probably a reality, when I want to buy maps, I tried to buy the maps today for my Atlas completion, right? And buying 10 maps took me like almost half an hour because everybody is AFK or doesn't want to sell, or even items that I want to buy for my build, you know, it's very hard. There's a lot less people crafting in this league because a lot of like there is just no resources, you know, and nobody wants to go for these big things because they know they're gonna sit forever because nobody has the currency to buy those things either, right? So usually you have this kind of state of the league like 1.5 month in, maybe 2 month in, where you're really like, yo, dude, it's just like forever Path of Exile players and some bots left over, and it's like better wait for the next league, right? But we are 3 weeks into the league and already think about we have this state already reached, you know, because even like if I check my guild, like how many people are online? 2 people. 2 people of like usually like super dedicated PoE players that are online almost like every single day for multiple hours, you know, and there's 2 people online, 3 with me included, you know. It's kind of sad, and it's kind of like destroying the fun. So you have like a lot of things happening in the game in the current state where I kind of disagree, but in the overall thing, I would say I still have hopes, okay? And I say this just because, think about it, business perspective now, right? So what is GGG doing right now is realizing, or at least like trying to make the vision of Chris Wilson and basically happen, you know, playing this perfect game more or less. I know there is no perfect things because some agree, some disagree and whatnot, but the vision that Chris has about the game brought it to the state where it was like a indie company to what we have now in Path of Exile, right? And based on a business perspective, it's like garbage what they're doing right now, right? Because they're like pissing off almost the entire player base by all these changes. Nobody's really having fun. Everybody's quitting again. There is other big titles coming out. Lost Ark, Lost Epoch, like Diablo 2, Diablo, like the remaster. Diablo 4 is probably there some in like 15 years or so. So there is competition. And why are they doing that? Because from a business perspective, it's complete trash what they're doing. But exactly this is giving me hope. This gives me hope because this just shows me that GGG doesn't care about the money as people always do. I mean, expensive MTX and like more MTX than we ever had was always a thing, you know? GGG was always like putting out a tremendous amount of MTX, but this was always there, so it's not like something new that, okay, they probably bring a lot more MTX nowadays, but it's totally fine, you know? They probably have more employees, more people working on that stuff, but it gives me hope that I just see that Chris still follows the vision to make this perfect game for us, and I hope that everything will turn out to a perfect world, because think about it. If the game continuously getting changed and nerfed and everything, yeah, of course, now we are pissed about it, right? But in like half a year or something, when there's like 2 or 3 more leagues, we're gonna enjoy the game again, right? And because it's a normal thing to do, right? It's not like, okay, Harvest Craft to let's remove Harvest. This one league where everybody said, dude, what the fuck? Like my build sucks, you know. I cannot do anything anymore, right? And I think this will just become normal, and then it's all good again, you know, and everybody will play the game again, and everybody will enjoy it at a certain degree, because the overall game is the same, since it just became stable, you know. But I don't want to really see myself being in this position to ask GG, yo, when do we get Path of Exile Classic, because I kind of did like 3-point Delirium League, whatever, you know, Herald stacking or whatnot, and all these explodey chests and whatnot. So there is people just enjoying that a lot more for the overall player base, I would say, because statistic-wise, we did have a lot more players in leagues where we had just more fun, more or less, right? And yeah, this is like kind of my state of the current league or current Path of Exile. I still do play it, even though I'm not like, I have so many build ideas, but after having like 6 or 7 builds already failed, I'm kind of losing the motivation to level up again, just to find out that a build sucks again, and then level again, and at some point, you know what, fuck this, let's wait for next league. And as I said, I don't think that the nerfs are going to stop here, even though there was a lot of nerfs. But as I said, last league already said they're going to slow down or revert some of the nerfs. But they did not. They actually nerfed it a lot harder. And I think this is a trend that will keep on going until we have Path of Exile 2. So I wouldn't criticize it too much for the next upcoming leagues. I don't think that they're going to be super hyped. Even though I like the league mechanic, like Expedition, I feel it's great. It's definitely, it's probably not the best league, but it's better, one of the better leagues that we had, and I enjoy it. But just the overall PoE right now, the direction is kind of like weird at the moment, right? Good. What else to add on this part? Yeah, we're just gonna keep on playing, I guess. We're gonna do the challenges like every league, and then we're just gonna wait for the next league. And I think that the next couple leagues are going to be the same kind of scheme. We're gonna get a lot of changes in the meta game. But yeah, if that's great or not, like, I just want to show one more example. PO Ninja, for example, right? There's a website, shows you the current state, whatever, and there is a trend. There is like probably 5 builds. So when GGG said, yo, we're gonna like make a meta shakeup, for example, right? I was like, yo, we maybe get something similar like before the league launched, like Cluster Jewels, for example, right? This like changes build in the core, and we're gonna have so many more build options. But in fact, we now have like, I think 5 builds, maybe like plus minus 3 builds, like let's say like that are kind of meta, and they're like unpayable. So you have like the Spectrum, like Summoner, Necromancer, right, is meta. Then Gladiator and Raider, most of them are Spectre Shield Throw. The one are bleed builds, the other ones are like cold conversion builds. Then you have the Hierophants, are pretty much all of them are Forbidden Right, so that's the same skill throughout the border. Scions will probably most likely be Aura Stackers or something, or Supporters or something, so nothing too crazy, but... and then we have some Miners and Trappers, like those kind of things that dudes that are every league, right? But that's about it, you know? Like, check this. No Inquisitors, Juggernaut, Chieftain, Champion, Slayers, Trickster, Pathfinder, Elementalist, one of the most craziest classes ever, Guardian, Berserks, Assassin, like... all of this up in a trash can, you know, and this is sad. We have like 5 builds at the moment that are like super superior, and I can almost agree, totally like ensure you guys that exactly those builds that are kind of meta right now are going to get nerfed next league for sure. Because I think I played Spectre Shield Throw myself yesterday. And this is ridiculous what they did to the skill. It's so freaking overpowered in the current state, and this is not going to survive. No freaking chance. So if you want to replay SST, now it's the right time, but make sure to bring like 100 exalts, because otherwise you're going to be stuck with your gold rim and your tabula, because all the other gear is just kind of unaffordable. Good. Kind of long video, just my 2 cents about the current state, how I feel about it. And yeah, guys, thanks for tuning in, thanks for watching, and see you on the next video. Thank you.